Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review. Villagers, Awayland. Villagers is the musical project of singer-songwriter and guitarist Conor J. Obrien, whose music early in the inception of Villagers moved me quite a bit in 2009 through the Hollow Kind EP. On this EP, it's just a nice handful of downtrodden songs of sadness. Tracks like The Meaning of the Ritual and Pieces certainly showcased a huge Bright Eyes / Elliott Smith influence. They are songs that Obrien strung together shortly after the demise of his previous band, The Immediate. I hadn't heard anything from the band in a little while, and then the announcement came that in 2010, Villagers would be signing on with Domino Records and releasing its first full-length LP. The album, which was eventually dropped, was titled Becoming a Jackal. It made it to #1 on the Irish indie charts. It was Mercury Prize nominated as well, but still, this full-length didn't really resonate with me in the same way that the EP that preceded it did. The production was cleaner. A lot of the songs on here were built up with just slicker instrumentation, but I felt like the overall sound of Villagers had become kind of sterile, maybe a little neutered, kind of predictable, especially on reworked versions of older tracks on this new album, such as The Meaning of the Ritual. So I was going into this new sophomore LP hoping for more, and I definitely feel like I got that. For sure, Obrien makes some really clear and obvious attempts to kind of break or move away from that mold that his first album was cast in, but the recipe may end up tasting maybe a little funny to people who have been hardcore fans of the very short progression that Villagers has undergone so far. Obrien, without a doubt, is still a very captivating singer-songwriter with great lyrics and a lot of emotion, and maybe for many fans that will be all that truly matters at the end of the day. But on this new LP, with a lot of songs here, there are a lot of electronics running in tandem with the usual mix of guitar, bass, drums, and vocals. In addition to the electronics, I would say more pianos, brass, and strings too. I think in general, Villagers is coming off way more ambitious in the studio with this release. Just take a listen to the hustling and bustling electronic tones at the beginning of the track The Waves, or the glitchy electronic sequenced percussion on the song Earthly Pleasure. On top of this, you're getting a lot of instances of just cascading horn arrangements that swell and fall. Lots and lots of effects on some tracks. Villagers is definitely moving away from its kind of simple and humble beginnings with just a lot of sonic flash. And while overall I didn't really end up loving this LP to death, I do admire it much more than Becoming a Jackal. Not only are the songs really good, the production is great, but this LP is definitely the sound of a guy trying to just add a little bit of spark to his craft. The song The Waves, which is one of the main promotional tracks that came out before this record, and a great one at that. There's a lot of cute, bubbly electronics at the start of this track, with some moody guitar and vocals kind of coming up underneath it, with some touches of piano as well that are really beautiful. It's like all of the synthetic sounds are just sounding really kind of light and airy and sweet on the ears, while everything else is just kind of becoming more and more sour. And I love the way that the vocals kind of speed up with intensity in the lyrics, the way that they kind of hit rhythmically as Obrien delivers them. And I love the way this track just kind of moves and shifts and builds up from one section to another, with just these subtle swells of piano, organ, and horns just before the chorus kind of kicks in. There is a serious flow to the instrumentation all over this album whenever there are some arrangements involved. They're so well played and so meticulously crafted. As The Waves continues, the vocals just kind of fall backwards in kind of like a James Blake sort of way into this cavernous mountain of reverb as the electronics kind of get glitchier and noisier. It's just really apocalyptic, huge ending. And I like the way that Villagers kind of builds up toward the end of the song, the Grateful song. That's got a really ambitious ending filled with strings that, yeah, it's not really the same mood as the previous track that I just mentioned, but man, is it a thick mood. I mean, thick with just this kind of uplifting, soaring, head in the clouds kind of vibe, instrumentally at least. There are a few other tracks on here that I wish kind of went that far, like the introductory track, My Lighthouse, or Passing a Message, both of which I just kind of feel like get cut short and sort of... But other tracks on here do a really great job at embracing sort of a sense of simplicity and don't leave me hanging in the process. Like in A Newfoundland, You Are Free, which is like this beautiful acoustic track which has sort of a lullaby quality to it. The piano on this song and the guitar that occasionally pops in waltz together really slowly. And I love the way that Obrien sings on this track. His voice, just the timbre of it, is a perfect setting for music this soft. His voice just sounds so endearing on this track. It would have been the perfect ending to this album, I thought, but then the rhythm composer track, which kind of seems to be this singer-songwriter's tribute to percussionists, drummers. It's a cutesy kind of track, maybe a little corny. It feels a little tagged on, but even this track, which I think is really one of the weakest out of the entire bunch, is really not that bad. So you do kind of have these softer lullaby kind of tracks, but Obrien is equally comfortable on a song like Nothing's Changed, which is like this very kind of mid-paced piano rocker, a song that is very slickly produced, something that I feel like the Killers would have rocked back when they were putting out better tracks. And I love the string-kissed climax on this song, the way it just rises. Again, another moment on this LP that's kind of inspiring. I feel like overall this LP could certainly have been bolder. There are a good handful of tracks on here that do not take the adventurous plunge that the other songs on here do. Pretty much just a slight improvement, I think, for Villagers. Really giving me hope that there will be something maybe even better on the horizon past this album. I'm feeling light 7 to a decent 7 on this LP, but if you've given it a listen, what did you think about it? Did you love it? Hate it? Why? And what do you think I should review next? Anthony Fantano, Villagers, forever.